Oh,
Hey guys, welcome to Executive Espresso, and we are back with a really wonderful guest today, Edwin Ty, and this is our weekly 18-minute caffeinated conversation, your fresh brewed cup of captivating insights into the world of business, leadership, and personal development. And we got a personal development guy here for you guys, and this is in the area of rehab. At the end of this, we're going to do, as we always do, a triple shot where we're going to do some bam, 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 some quick press questions and try to catch Edwin off guard a little bit there. But we're just so glad that you're here today. Edwin is a guru at the intersection of business, tech, and health. And yes, that includes AI. We'll be talking a bit about AI today. He is a health, medical, and tech copywriter. He's the curator of a great space on, I guess it's Substack, which is Second Thoughts by Edwin Ty, rethinking what you already know, perspectives and second thoughts on healthcare and medicine, technology, and marketing. So today we're going to talk about getting back to work and what happens when things go wrong. And so, Ed, thank you for being here today. Tell us a little bit about your work.
thank you for having me. Well, quick introduction of myself because I guess the title really speaks a quite diverse background. Actually, for education wise, I study engineering and physics. But then for work, I've always been into marketing, PR, and also sales. And I've started a couple of different companies before. But then, like around 5 years ago, I had a personal healthcare incident, and that changes my perspective and shifts every gear that I want to contribute towards biomedical field. And it was that time I started to look into what kind of space within medical field that I can really work in. Because if you talk about surgical robotics, that's not really something easy to get into, right? So I was looking at, okay, what is something that is underserved or getting overlooked? And within the entire healthcare systems, I think there is a big part of overlooked segment in rehabilitation and recovery space, and that I can dive deeper later on. But long story short is that I discovered that this is a very much in need space, and within that, stroke, this particular disease, is very heavily debilitating, which means that a lot of people, when you hear stroke, you would think that, oh, it's so lethal, it's like so deadly, right? But usually, around 10 to 20% of patients would die in the incidents, and then the rest of them can survive. But the bad news is that stroke is actually very debilitating. It removes their physical ability to move around, and over half of them cannot walk properly afterwards. And although it sounds like very trivial, cannot walk, but this problem alone can lead to a high rate of suicide attempts and depression, and also leads to other forms of physical disability. So we can say that when we can successfully treat walking function, we can also help to bring them both physically and also mentally back on their feet.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
thank you.
Edwin and I were talking before the show. You know, we kind of do some planning and what questions are we going to cover and things like that. And I sent over. I meant to say getting back to work, and of course it auto corrected to getting back to worth,
Right.
WORTH. And then Edwin said, you're going to have to tell me what that means. What does getting back to worth mean? And I said, oh man, that was an autocorrect typo. But I've been in this mental health field for 30 years and worked a lot with people with strokes and a lot of business owners. And a lot of business owners get to thinking, once I have a stroke, it's all over. If I lose part of my functionality, left
Hmm.
arm, left hand, right hand, maybe the ability to walk or whatever, that it's all over. And I recall when the term neuroplasticity first
Yeah.
came into being and people went, actually people didn't go crazy over it. That guy that came up with that, he got a lot of crap about it because it was seen as pseudoscience. But then people really grabbed a hold of it, as we say in the South, cabbaged a hold of it. And so I think what you're seeing, and tell me that really it's not the end of the game. When you have a stroke, if you don't die, there's a heck of a
Hmm.
lot that you can do to rehabilitate
Definitely.
yourself. And I think part of that is not just getting back to work, but in getting back to work, you're getting back your self worth. You're getting back to
Definitely.
WRTH self worth. And so, have you seen that be a major struggle? People just give up?
100%. 100%. And I want to anchor on your point about neuroplasticity. It's not really a pseudoscience right now. A lot of neuroscientists and physical therapists, biologists, they have all come to the consensus that this is a fact. But the struggle right now, instead of proving it is a real science, is that how can we really achieve that? Because when we talk about brain, neural stuff is very delicate. It's very difficult for a regular person without science background to understand what's going on inside. And that's okay. When we are trying to do public education on public health, what we usually say is we avoid all the jargons like the neurons and stuff. We just say we want to teach the brain to learn again. Imagine if you are a newborn baby, you are just climbing, crawling. How long does it take for a baby to start walking? It might take 1 to 2 years, right? So for stroke patients, this is what we always encourage our patients. We tell them, hey, there's something ill, something like a cold and flu for your brain. Now don't scare, don't be freaked out, right? If you have cold and flu, what do? You take a pill or drink some water, take some rest, right? But right now, the cold and flu happens in your brain. So you let them rest and also let them to learn again. So maybe 1 to 2 years is a great time. Your brain is like a baby all over again. Now, the thing, what you mentioned about the struggle to self work and then self worth, right, is that a lot of people actually they have the ability to recover. And within stroke, we have the saying, it's called the golden window of recovery is the first 3 weeks to the first half a year. Or actually, by extension, the first year is still a great time for recovery. That means whatever exercises you do within this time frame, everything just adds up to the possibility of you getting better 1 day faster. But the problem we see among patients is that they lack motivation, they don't have hope, they don't see themselves getting better. And because of stroke is so debilitating, they usually are out of job at that point. They don't see themselves getting back to job, getting back to the society, socially mingling with other people. So all these factors add up to stripping away their hope and motivations to exercise. And by effect of not exercising, not taking advantage of that time, they cannot work functionally, physically, they cannot recover, and mentally, it just drops everything.
And I think you're right. It really is a very much a mindset thing, of
Mm,
very much a psychological game. And what fascinates me about business owners, entrepreneurs, that innovators, is they have the ability to work so hard to dream up a company or an innovation, to plan, to develop, to hire, to pull together a team, and they may work crazy hard, crazy amount of hours, but then they don't apply that to recovery when there's a physiological problem. So I like to tell people your full time job as an entrepreneur, innovator, business owner has now become recovery. Your full time job is to get up and work the plan, plan the work the plan, follow what your PT, OT, ST says, follow what your physicians say. And that has got to be, like you said, probably for the first 3 years, your full time job. Now, I remember that back in the days where people that had strokes, they were just kind of cast away. You're
Hmm.
a business owner, you have a stroke, and now you're no longer anything, and you go to the long-term care facility. So you're seeing lots and lots of people with new technologies recover very well. So let's talk about AI, the new big thing,
Sure.
AI and physical rehab. What do you see happening there?
Well, definitely something is happening with our company as well. So for starter, a lot of people misunderstood AI, and because of the hype of GPT and the popularity of GPT, a lot of people get to know AI, but when they think about AI as something not related to any physical stuff. So when we use it, is that we interpret AI as something that can compute or do stuff really, really quickly for us. And in our application, because our product is a robot, and then we can track all the movements of our patients. In fact, we actually help quite a few patients to really get back on their feet and they can get back to work. And all these great data points are adding value to our analysis. And say, for example, there are three patients. One patient's done our trial, they are getting better but not fully recovered. Another is walking already. The third one is actually getting back to job. He is actually working elsewhere now. So all these three sets of data we can get into our database, we crunch them, we add our algorithm. The great thing about all this baseline data is that in the future, whenever we take in new patients, we can automatically match this kind of profiles to the new patients, and we can automatically adjust the program, the setup of the products to make sure we can maximize the outcome. But at the same time, what I see that is happening in our space, physical therapy, um, mostly in the Western world, Europe and North America, is that more people are getting used to data science, which means they are now adapting different kind of data analytics software to help the therapists and clinicians to judge whether a program is suitable for different kind of patients. And let's get out of stroke. We can talk about other things like Parkinson's. We can talk about someone with spinal cord injury, or very simple, like myself, if I'm playing basketball and I sprain my ankle, right? How can I, instead of take 6 weeks to recover, I can shorten that to 6 days? It is possible with amount of data and tools set up, everything aggregate together. This is what I believe could be um, the next wave in physical therapy.
Wow, that is amazing. Back in the 90s was in my field, back in the 90s when I was going around doing a quality assurance consultation, that was the heyday of physical therapy. So it sounds like that AI, and then it got really big and then it kind of died out. Everyone was building physical therapy units in every long-term care facility and doing their own
Right.
physical therapy there. And then it kind of died out, I think, for reimbursement issues. But what an amazing thing if you can shorten the recovery time. Goodness gracious, that would be just a
Yeah.
landslide discovery thing to do. Well, what are some what kind of reactions are you getting from patients? Because some might be kind
Right.
of freaked out about this.
Well, actually, the all the reactions and impressions from public are very positive because of two things. So the first thing is the nature of physical therapy. It has to be physical. You have to touch them. You have to help them lift something, right? The second thing is the nature of medical industry is so focused on surgical and treatment and drugs, and they neglected recovery and rehabilitation. So these two factors really come together to foster a great opportunities for us. And let me explain that. So because of so many people are overlooking rehabilitation and recovery, that means even the technology is like a decade old, simple platform business, nothing AI. I'm just doing tele rehabilitation right now. It's still super helpful because a lot of people are seeing doctors on their phone, on their laptop with FaceTime, very easy. But not a lot of people are utilizing this method to see their physical therapist. So that's one thing, because of the nature of lagging behind. Second thing is what I talk about the strength and the touchy physical nature is unlike seeing your physician online. You just want to talk to them, and then they can send you the drugs, the appropriate medications. Physical therapy actually need the therapist to touch you to feel how tight is your muscle, how stiff. So everything becomes impossible when it turns into a remote model. But right now, with the great tools of different kind of assessment kits or different robots like ours, you can actually send the kits or send the robots to the home in the rural suburban area,
Wow.
and then let the computer do the job of the physical lifting. And meanwhile, I'm just, right now doing the FaceTime, Zooming with the patient, and I'll tell you, hey, how to operate that particular kit and machine, and everything comes with the same effect.
That is so amazing. And as you're talking, I can imagine that one of these days we will have cameras in the homes of people recovering from stroke, and the AI will be watching that person stand,
Right.
lift, bend, turn. Uh,
That is actually happening right now.
wow, no, that's amazing.
No kidding. No kidding.
Wow, and
A lot
give
of
the
our
person
counterparts are doing that.
and give the person moment by moment PTOT coaching, or even ST, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, PTOT, ST for those that aren't
Exactly.
in the loop there. Give them moment by moment coaching, do this, don't do that, and encouragement. And I think that encouragement, man, that moment by moment encouragement, just, hearing a voice that sounds like a human saying, hey, go get them, you can do this. Let's get out of bed. Let's get going. That kind of thing is just going to be a game changer for people who have these disabilities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you hit right on the nail. I just want to add one point is that because you talk about how AI is doing the tracking, the great thing about tracking is that you can actually visualize your improvement. In the old days of Z2 therapy, cannot understand and visualize your improvement. But right now, with this kind of tracking tool, you can actually map out the graph. And for patients, tracing back to our original point, they can finally get the motivation. I'm actually getting better. I'm doing the right thing. I can
Wow.
foresee, predict when can I actually walk again.
Yeah, because if you're in that situation, it's almost like watching paint dry. You can't
Yeah,
figure out where was I and how far I've come, and that just kind of becomes invisible. And it's I've talked on some of my spaces about something called inattentional blindness, where it's there
right.
and we don't mean to not see it, we don't intentionally not see it. It's unintentional blindness, and so we really don't see or track our progress. Well, we have a couple minutes, so let's go into what I call the 15-second triple shot, and Ed, just maybe a 3 to 5 second response to each of these. But what
Sure.
is your own current top mental struggle?
Um, Trusting yourself. Stop listening to the doubters. A lot of people like to comment on your life, but they don't know stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I think yeah, that's a very human thing. What's your best mindset hack? What's something that gets you going, keeps you going? Your best mindset hack?
Keep reminding myself that a lot of the stuff that I had predicted turns out to be true, and trust your instinct.
And then finally, and I was really looking forward to this one, back before all this technology, what's something that you had wrong about the limits of a human being? Something that
Mhm.
you thought was maybe not possible, and then you discovered that it was, it just kind of blew you away.
Well, I'll say the belief that I had was everyone is just born to be one function as a specialist. As as we taught in school, we are trained in whatever specialty. You should be an engineer, you should be a writer or something. But turns out we can actually jump from industry to industry or functions to functions. And as long as you have the grit, you have the willingness to learn and the methods as well, you can always learn and adapt to new things. And that is the shift, the mental shift that I had to help me change from just purely writing for technology to actually building robots for medical purposes. And that is such a big hurdle to cross for me. But and also reading a book called General Range, teaching us why generalists is actually sometimes better than specialists. I think that book really helps.
I love it. I love it. I'm all about being eclectic and pulling in what works. And one last thing, and we just want to leave our listeners with a positive affirmation about their own abilities and capabilities that they can begin applying to their mindset this weekend. So, what might that be? What parting advice might you give the folks listening today?
Right. I'm gonna tell you guys that our brains are very malleable. It's very changeable. When you feed them with good stuff, it turns healthier for you, both physically and mentally. So keep up with good thoughts, train it, train your brain muscle, write more, talk more, and then you will get better.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, Edwin, and keep up the great work. You're
Thank you very
changing
much for
lots of
having me.
lives. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you next time on Executive Espresso. Have a great day. Grab a cup of coffee.
See you.